Alright, so I thought I would talk about this a little bit instead of just having you watch the video and have it be quiet. I have a little bit more time to put into this one, so I hope this is helpful for you. This last exam is going to be over the urinary structures and the reproductive, both male and female. Alright, so the things you need to know for the urinary system are here. All these different components of the kidney, the ureters, bladder, and portions of the bladder and the urethra. Alright, so here we have the urethra here. Okay, you can see that right here on this structure. This is the female urethra. The female urethra is shorter than the male's. You will see the male urethra when we look at the male reproductive section. So the urethra is a passageway for urine. Alright, so here first we have the urinary bladder. You can see it on the model right here on the left. The female urinary bladder, which looks a little bit lower than the male urinary bladder. Some of that is just the way that the picture is oriented here, okay? Here you have the right kidney and the left kidney. Now we have the ureter. This is a paired structure. So on this one kidney here, this section down here is the ureter. And then we have the ureter right here and the ureter extending from this kidney down here. So here we have the cortex. The cortex is this first thick outer layer. All of this area here is cortex, okay? So even these vascular structures down that go in between medullas here, okay? You can see over here very well the path of that cortex. So I like to have both of these pictures because this one shows you everything, but this one over here, you can still see what it actually looks like and how the vessels innervate that. Now, each individual section is going to be the medulla, okay? And so you have to be careful looking at this. I don't mean here, this triangular almost section here. These are the medullas, okay? It almost looks like portions of grapefruit. And then within the medulla, we have these renal pyramids, and you can kind of see these little lines that are going. Those are individual sections are the pyramids. So next we have the calyces, and we're going to break these down into the larger portion and the smaller portion. And you really just have to remember that it is larger and smaller because it does look different on different models. And so this larger portion here is going to be the major calyx. Okay, remember going on down here is going to be the ureter, and we're going to look at the renal sinus and all as well. So you want to remember that the calyx, the major calyx, is the bottom wider portions where they're about to start separating out. And you can see that over here as well. Here we have the minor calyx, and so this is where they actually open up. Minor is going to mean the smaller sections, and you can see these here. These are the smaller calyces. And then so here's the renal pelvis. So we looked at these sections as being major calyx, and then this whole entire section here is going to be the renal pelvis. And this is going to be the highlighted portion here. This yellow thing isn't really supposed to be there. That's an accident. I may be able to get that off without messing up the recording. I'm just going to have to see. All right, and then so the renal sinus, remember sinus is kind of like a cavity or opening, so it's all of the openings in this structure. If you were to take and slice this open sideways, where you can see it like this view, see this is a sagittal cut here, and you can see that these are hollow structures. So all of these hollow open structures are the sinus, the renal sinus. Now the capsule is going to be just this very thin outermost layer. It almost looks like it would be the skin of the kidney, okay? So this brown section here that is very, very thin, you can see that very thin layer. On this view, it is encompassing the whole outside because this is not a sagittal section. That's the entire kidney, okay? So it does surround the entire kidney, but it is just a very thin covering. All right, so here we're going to start with the nephron, all right? And so this structure here represents one of these. And you can see this little loop here. This is the nephron in here, okay? So we have the nephron here, very important. One portion of the nephron that is important is the renal corpuscle. Renal corpuscle. So each of these white dots, so to speak, are part of them. And this is what it encompasses, okay? So each one of those white dots has these structures on the inside. And so the whole structure then is called the renal corpuscle. And then this outer layer here surrounding it, okay, and this is almost kind of a white opaque looking, that is Bowman's capsule, okay? Sometimes we do refer to the corpuscle altogether as Bowman's capsule, but really the capsule is just the outer covering. And then lastly, inside of it, we have this structure here. This is the glomerulus, all right? These are all very important when we look at the functionality of the kidney and what is going to happen as far as concentrating urine, exchanging waste, and reabsorbing water and that type of thing. So this is a very important structure. So this is another look here at the glomerulus, So you can see that's what this is represented here, okay? And so this is a histology slide here. You can see this is what the glomerulus actually looks like. And then out here, you can see how this is just the capsule portion, Bowman's capsule. It's just that outermost layer. And so all of this in here then is the glomerulus, and then this is Bowman's capsule. All right, so be careful to differentiate between those two. Even though sometimes in lecture we may kind of use them interchangeably, understand really the capsule is the portion that surrounds the glomerulus. All right, so we're going to look at the afferent arterial, and efferent arterial. Remember, afferent is going to be going to a structure, so it is going to the glomerulus here, and then we're going to have the efferent. The efferent arterial then is going to be going away from the glomerulus. All right, so this is the vasta recta, also called the peritubular capillaries. This is very important for exchange and the countercurrent multiplication. This really should be a little more over here on the loop of Henle, but for some reason they separated these on this model. There'll be a slide here in a minute where you can see that it's really overlays the loop of Henle, sorry, not Henry. All right, so here's the loop of Henle. Like I said, this is the nephron is the functional unit. The loop of Henle would be the most important portion of that if you wanted to label it that way. Here we have the ascending limb. So we have an ascending limb, and you'll notice that it does get thicker, and then it's thinner down here, and this is the descending limb. This is going to be the collecting duct, and we'll talk about these structures a little more in depth in lecture. So it really helps to kind of understand what they look like before you get to the conversation. Also, when you're talking about the loop of Henle and you talk about the nephron and how some of it is in the cortex and some of it is in the medulla, it's really important to kind of understand where those two portions are so that you understand where these are located. And here is that slide I was telling you about. You can see here the vasta recta here going around the loop of Henle. That's really what it should look like because these work in conjunction together. Okay, very, very important. This is where we get our countercurrent multiplier here to concentrate urine. So that's important.